Good morning. It is January 24th, 11:07 a.m. on the West Coast. I woke up to the news of another person killed by ICE in Minneapolis. And I want to first start by obviously expressing the mix of emotions that I have about this as someone resistant to authoritarian regime and the ramping up and manufacturing of chaos to prevent the release of the Epstein files and to uproot pedophilia in our society. Call it out as a maladaptive behavior that is not supportive of our long-term survival in any community. There's a lot of love in my heart for everybody, but mostly the people who are standing up in the face of the suppression that's happening by the regime. And, it was interesting. I saw a video yesterday of some guy talking about how the turnout in Minneapolis on their general strike day, the 23rd, that it was an example of how love is spreading despite what's happening. If fear can spread, so can love. That's very true. I wonder if people see it that way. People coming out in Minneapolis and responding all over the world is a function of our collective humanity speaking out against harms. This moment is the people at the top versus people at the bottom, and the people at the top creating division amongst the people at the bottom so the people at the bottom don't rise up against the people at the top. That's what it's always been. But more so now, good and evil. The good and evil sides are not super clear for everybody because folks who are supportive of, you know, what's happening and how this administration is conducting itself and the corruption and everything like that. But the difference between people who are accepting and supportive of that and people who are resistant to it and people who are really just compassionate, caring people about other people, that is the real split right now. I'm seeing the good and evil is, people who care about other people, all people, and people who don't. We need to get clear about that dichotomy because even amongst ICE agents, there are people who seemingly do care about other people. And then there are people who are ICE agents who don't. This mix makes it hard for people to label these institutions and the people who are operating them as all completely evil. I mean, that work is happening. Yes, ICE agents are evil, but there's justification for some of it because, there's videos of some ICE agents being reasonable or, and there's a belief that some of these people are reasonable. You hear a lot of the fuck around and find out folks and I told you so people, even the people trying to appeal to the Republicans, congressional Republicans and their neighbors who are pro-ICE and anti-humanity. This appealing coming from a place of naivety, in my opinion, because you're appealing to people's humanity who do not display or extend humanity beyond their inner circles. Okay? So you are appealing to somebody's compassion and care when they don't care and they don't have compassion. And I think that we as a movement of compassionate people need to draw those lines and we need to appeal to the people who have moral fibers left in their being, ethical fibers left in their being, compassionate fibers left in their being. We have to appeal to those people. We should not be appealing to, people who through their action support of what is happening. And it goes further than immigration because that is the justified mechanism for what's happening. Oh, we have illegal immigrants, so we can be cruel people to get them out. We can be cruel to get them out is kind of the justification that they're living off of. And while that might give them some cover, some of these people do not have the appropriate documentation and some of these people, might be criminals and rapists and whatever. Mind you, it's a very, very, very small minority of immigrants that fall into that category. They have justification for what's happening. And that justification is now being extended to people who are resistant to what's happening, people who are democratic, people who are liberal, leftist, whatever. Like the Trump regime and the MAGA cult see us as evil and see us as needing to be eradicated. And while there might be some people in the MAGA movement that won't use that term eradicated, the people who are moving the pieces above them, part of that billionaire class that, is really funding all of this and enslaving the U.S. population through convenience and technology, we're okay with the word eradication. And those are the people with the tools to be able to do it. And those are the people with the power to be able to control the narrative to make it seem like that eradication is an unfortunate escalation of the tensions. But the reality is it's a manipulated provocation perpetuated by them due to their inhumaneness. And so my heart is sinking for the movement because what we can take away from this latest killing in Minneapolis is that if we show up and show out, somebody will die. If we general strike, take to the streets like Minneapolis showed, somebody will die. That is the message of what's happened. And it's difficult for me as somebody who sees themselves as like a shadow leader to continue to fuel that possibility out of my own humanity and not wanting to see good, caring people die at the hands of not caring people. We have to change our tactics. There's a function of what's happening with immigration. We have to, I think it's difficult because in saying this, like, I need people to understand that I come from a place of universalism, but I am a compassionate, caring, ethical, and moral person. When it comes to what is happening, we have to understand that immigration enforcement is a function of really all Americans. And I'm saying this because, some people might see this, some people might not, and some people might believe this and some people might not. But like as Americans, we want to uphold our rule of law here in the United States, and to have large populations break those laws despite the ineffectiveness of our Congress to actually close loopholes and create systems that actually are fair and don't allow for the immigration issues that we've seen over the last decade or so. Like, there's a function that all Americans, and I think that's the reason why this is continuing to happen, is because there is a ethos in America that some people have broken the law and so they need to get out, right? That is something that all people in America need to understand is part of the fuel of why this is allowing to continue to happen. That is a reason. Deep down inside, we are against people breaking our laws. That's what the Republicans are capitalizing on and are justifying this ramp up of force, violence, and chaos and terrorism, really, to not only fulfill that reality, but also to accelerate mechanisms of oppression, AI surveillance, database, digital ID type shit. Like, it is a escalation that is creating a baseline that what people don't realize will set the standard and the baseline for how we operate as Americans in our law-abiding country going forward. And it's because of just that web of reality and what's happening, and the fact that some people see it clearly and some don't, is why it seems like nothing can be done to stop what's happening. The technology and those systems have been established, and it is very difficult for individuals to see that they need to break a psychological and physical addiction to convenience and technology that keeps us in this hamster wheel of delusion or comfort that allows for these systems and this regime to continue to erode the rule of law and replace it with beliefs and world order that is truly counter to a collective, sustainable society where everybody is okay to live and not just a few, because that's where we're headed. Yes, that's where we've been. Yes, that's what this country has been built off of, but we have the technology, we have, the amount of people needed to really change that in our country. And we were on that path, and we still are technically on that path to changing. That's what DEI was. But we are currently in setbacks and have to strategize how we fight back without giving them reason to kill us. It can be done economically. That's the only thing they care about. A general strike is great, but it needs to be a general strike that lasts weeks, not a general strike that's just a day. Because if you strike something for a day, sure, their metrics can say, oh, there was a drop in, profit and income that day, but we were able to get it back. You know what I mean? Or we were able to absorb that loss with several weeks of income. You know what I mean? Like, these corporations are seeing things in the long term. They're not seeing things in a day or a week. They're seeing things by years, right? If we're making financial resistance decisions, those need to be long-term and sustainable for a lot of people. It can't just be a couple of people. It has to be a lot of people. Otherwise, it's not going to make a dent to their bottom line, and it's not going to change their behavior, and it's not going to force them to change politicians' behavior because they're currently benefiting from not wanting to change politicians' behavior. So yeah, we're in a very dangerous place. I am a firm believer of our constitutional rights and believe that everybody should exercise them, but exercise them smart, because they're looking for people to slip up. You can't put yourself in a situation that gives them legal grounding to violate your constitutional rights. they have to step across that line and reap the outcomes of those decisions. My word of caution, support, love for everybody is to be smart. Don't feed into their systems of oppression. We have to resist, but also have to love one another and strengthen that which makes us different from them, which is our morality, our ethics, love, compassion, and care for one another.